chocolates, jewelry, flowers. That's the trifecta of your traditional Valentine's Day, but all that romance can get a little expensive. We know a little effort goes a long way. Seviche events manager Madeline Doolittle is showing us how to make inexpensive bouquets look like $1 million. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So what is your first piece of advice when it comes to giving flowers for Valentine's Day?
Especially when you're on a budget, my #1 tip is actually to skip the cut flowers altogether and go with a potted plant. It lasts much longer with just a little bit of care, and if it's somebody that you really care about, it's something you can share together and take care of, and it'll bring you enjoyment for a lot longer than a bouquet of flowers.
That's true, and the orchids are such a nice gift to give. I love those.
Yeah,
that's the one that we saw, and I love how you dressed that up. Do I see Terry and Rachel?
Since it's a gift, I just made some little paper hearts in there.
Yeah. So some really cute little touches that you can add to make it extra special.
Exactly.
Right? Okay, and I also noticed that you're using interesting containers. Is that another one of your tips?
Yes, that's a great tip. Using a different kind of container than just a traditional glass vase is a great way to take flowers and really put them over the top. I like to use things that are inexpensive and maybe reused from other purposes. So you can see here I have a bourbon bottle. I have a beer bottle that I've covered in like some twine.
Yeah.
That was a very simple thing to do. And then here I've made a pedestal vase using materials that I found at the dollar store. Just a simple candle base and a cheap bowl. And then I just glued them together and spray painted the whole thing to create this pedestal.
What a neat idea. So a candlestick holder and then the bowl.
Exactly.
And I see here you've got, is that Scotch tape? Is that how you help arrange the flowers?
It is, yes. So with a vase that has a really wide mouth like this, sometimes it's hard to get the flowers to stay exactly where you'd like them to be. So use Scotch tape to just kind of make a grid. And that way when you stick the stems in, they'll stay exactly where you'd like them.
That is such a great idea. And it's all spaced the way you want it to. But yeah, I love the way you've used these interesting containers, and this is somewhat of being green too, right? And again, you work at Seviche, so the bourbon bottle and things like that, these are things that you found there at the restaurant. Okay, and then also I see these little bud vases. These are awfully cute. Tell me about those. That's
another great tip for really extending the life of your bouquet. Sometimes people will bring one home, stuff it in a vase, and just let it die there. But if you take a little bit of care, changing out the waters, snipping the bases of the stems, they'll last much longer. And then as they do start to wilt, you can pull out the individual stems that aren't looking so great, move it to a smaller container, and eventually you end up with a little bud vase like this with just a couple stems in it. Something like this is perfect to sit on your desk or on a kitchen counter or someplace where it wouldn't be appropriate to have a huge arrangement. But this is the last remnants of the bouquet that maybe you got for Valentine's Day, and it can last for a long time afterwards.
You're getting the most life out of it that you possibly can. Yeah, don't throw the whole thing out just because one or two of the blooms have died.
Exactly.
Right? So such pretty ideas. Thank you so much. I love like the vintagey impact. I think I just made that word up. But you know, the vintage rustic look of a lot of this too. And this interesting container. Again, a lot of these you can find, like you say, at the dollar store. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money.
Goodwill is a great place to get vases and containers. I try to find interesting things to use in our events at the restaurant to make them really unique without adding any additional cost for the guests. So reusing bottles, shopping at thrift stores to find really nice pieces at a discounted price takes flowers to another level.
Definitely. Very creative. Thank you so much, Madeline. We appreciate your tips today. And again, you got these at the grocery store. Not a lot of expense here. Madeline is the events manager at Seviche. That's at 1538 Bardstown Road. The number is 473-8560.